All right.
I like how this is progressing already. We've already killed the pitcher of beer. We're already changing the entire show, and we're 2 segments in, and we've drank all of our beer already and decided that the show format sucks. But that's okay, because it's Saints on Tap, man. That's the whole deal.
We're just here to roll with it and drink some beer.
Our feature segment right now coming up, of course, is On Tap. And Joe, the Los Angeles Rams, they're going out to LA. And let me just ask you, like, what is the storyline? Is it anything but revenge last year?
I mean, it's revenge game, vengeance. I don't see how it can't be that. I mean, after that egregious no call, it stings now, even still, for a lot of Saints fans. And I think they're ready to get
Not
there.
this one.
I think.
No,
Why?
Not this one. Just because it was one call. Like, I was never on that boycott bullshit. Like, it was, the Saints had every opportunity to win that game, and they didn't, and they blew it, and they put it in the hands of the referees. And we can cycle this ad nauseum. But my least favorite thing about this week is all the freaking referee shirts again, and, like, revisiting that and still being stuck on that. I heard someone say, a very acclaimed sports writer, he was tweeting about the Saints and getting robbed. He said, get over it. I agree. Like, black and gold through and through, man. Anybody studying that call last year?
Well, here's the thing. I think people are going to get over it after this week when we whoop their you-know-what. That's the whole thing. Like, it's a revenge game. It's the, to get over that. It's to get past that.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that the Saints players and Sean Payton and them are treating it as a revenge game? I think they could be. Like, I think inside the locker room, they could very much well be like, let's go get these, after last year. Or it could very well be the other ways. Last year. Sean Payton's deal is, look, this is the next game in the NFC, and it's a huge game in the NFC in terms of contenders.
No, I'm with you. I think when you're coming into the year as a whole, it's all, that's behind us, don't worry about it. This is our year, our time. But when you're coming into this game specifically, I can imagine that there's a lot going on in that locker room right now where guys are fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, I think, but again, it's not as much like, what did the Rams have to do with the no call? You know what I mean? Like, I just think we're making too much of that the Saints have some vendetta against the Rams or the Rams fans, or that it is some sort of revenge games about what the Rams did personally. If it was a revenge game, they'd be playing the damn referees. You know what I mean?
I'd like to see that.
Like,
Jordan just go after a ref.
Some people know it's 11 on 18 every week. Like, miss me with that shit. Like, the Saints, you win 12, 13 games every year. You're right there on the precipice. And
I'm interested as to the flip side of this whole thing. The Rams, all they hear from everybody is about this call, and you didn't deserve to be. Do you think that there's some of that on the other side, too, where the Rams really want to prove that they deserved, you know what I mean?
I think this is fan stuff. I think this is media stuff. I think Jared Goff and Todd Gurley and Sean McVay and I think Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara, like, they're not thinking about the call last year. Like, you know the game, man. You know how hard it is. You know how much the focus has to be right ahead of you this week. You know what I mean? I think we're making too much of that. I certainly think Saints fans made way too much of it last year at the end, and I think Saints players themselves know. Sean Payton knows, man, if I had called a run play, we would have been in the fucking Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, I think the Saints defense knows 20-10, 2 double-digit leads at 2 different points in the game, we'd have been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
absolutely.
wrong.
No, well, let's talk about what they got to do to really take it to the Rams this weekend.
I'm supposed to finish my beer, right? Because at the end of the segment, I was slacking off. I was already ahead of the game, and that's came out hot and like hit a flat for a while.
You forgot it wasn't a sprint; it's a marathon here. We're gonna go for a little bit. Oh yeah, there it is.
No problem, man. I mean, we're like a half a pitcher ahead already.
All right, well
So we're getting into stouts now?
Stouts.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we don't have a stout here, but
I don't need a stout, man. If I had a stout, I wouldn't make it.
Well, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams stouts and who the Saints really need to watch out for and game plan around. Let's hear who you got.
Well, this is going to surprise you a little bit, and here I'm going to go right back to last year, but I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks, a former New Orleans Saint, a former first-round draft pick. Cooks beat them in some bad spots last year, DNS. What's going on there? You okay?
Look at how much is left.
No, we're going to have to make this like a really short show of me and you, boy Iso, just going to be hammered by the time this is over. Brandon Cooks had 7 for 107 last year and got behind the Saints defense at various points in the NFC Championship game that killed them. And if we talk about, again, the one Achilles heel of this team, it's letting big-time receivers get behind you, just like they did last week. 2 plays in 70 seconds with the Houston Texans. I know, it's still maddening to think about, and Drew Brees bailed him out. You can pick a lot of those guys on that defensive side, and certainly Todd Gurley offensively.
Yeah.
But partly because of his connection with the Saints, and I just think that is a bit of the Saints' weakness, is the big play over the top. He burned him last year. I'm going to go Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think that's going to be a huge focal point. Stop those over the top plays, and not sure how they're going to do it specifically. You know, we saw P.J. Williams get burned.
They won't do it with P.J. Williams covering Brandon Cooks. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure.
P.J. made a play last week, though.
Yes.
He didn't really. It was Marcus Williams who made the play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, I want to talk about the defensive side of things, and I'm talking about Aaron Donald. I'm going to move right through over to Aaron Donald, and I'll tell you why. Aaron Donald finished with 20.5 sacks last year, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, an absolute animal. And
defensive tackle?
And as much as I love Eric McCoy, he's going to have his hands full with Aaron Donald.
Have fun this week.
He's the best
Welcome
player.
to the NFL blocking defensive tackle who's got 20.5 sacks.
Yeah, this is one of the most incredible players I've ever seen in the NFL in my lifetime live. And, you know, to stop him is going to be a huge issue for the Saints. Obviously, you want to keep Drew Brees upright as much as possible. And that defensive line in general is really strong for the Rams.
That's the difference between last week with J.J. Watt. You said they took J.J. Watt out of the game. Watt didn't have Dante Fowler Jr. Alongside him. Watt didn't have Clay Matthews behind him. That Rams, the whole front, and then we know it's a star-studded defense, right? But like specifically on the front, like there are other guys other than Aaron Donald, and the fact that he's so versatile in his own right, you know, is if it's not Donald, it's going to be Fowler or somebody else.
Exactly.
You know?
And I don't want to like put anything away from the Saints offensive line. They've been fantastic, but let's see what they can do against this defensive line.
Can Drew just like not play?
Well, yeah, we could just put Taysom Hill back there the entire time.
Like, I'd rather that, you know, let's get Taysom Hill hurt, you know what I mean? And then, like, we won't have to go through that charade. I shouldn't say that. Like, we're through the picture already. No, I don't want Taysom Hill to get hurt. But you worry, though, right? Like, you fear for Brees, like, when is that point where he actually starts missing games because he takes a hit or two?
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in this offensive line. I think they will keep him upright during this game, but it's going to be a huge question and something that they're going to have to, game plan for.
I can't say things like I hope Taysom Hill gets hurt the deeper we get into these pictures. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to blame it on the Yingling light in front of me. But, Rams on tap. It's a big one.
Let's move on to...
foreign and domestic?
Yes. Yeah. Let's move on to foreign and domestic. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFC South
This is
in
Saints
total.
on tap, by the way.
Yes,
where we're drinking beer on tap and talking about the Saints, and the beer kind of drives the conversation in more ways than one.
Clearly.
We're almost done here with this pitcher.
I know. I'm like, we got one more segment.
2 pitchers already? We're going to have to rethink this whole format or not.
The whole show.
I'm kind of liking it myself.
All right, let's talk about the NFC South because they had a terrible start. Well, the Saints are now sitting on top.
0-1 across the board last week in the NFC South, and the Saints go 1-0. But, Joe, it's not as much the records as kind of, I think, what was indicated by them or what we saw. Like, Jameis Winston still looks like terrible, turn the ball over. Jameis Winston, I know he's just eating turnover, man. Give me another turnover, man. Oh, my crap, I want turnover cakes. Cam Newton, I'm afraid. I love Cam Newton. He's one of my favorite players, my favorite college player of all time. He still looks shot, for lack of a better word. I'm not sure, though. I'll ask you about Carolina. And Atlanta, they just fell flat. Like, I don't know. What did you think about it? Especially the Falcons? I mean, that was your team. I was here last Super Bowl. Falcons. Oh, that's what I heard last week.
I thought the Saints were definitely going to have a bounce-back year. You know, everyone's talking about Matt Ryan and his low-key MVP season and all that nonsense, but they just fell flat on their face.
They're soft.
All these returning studs.
They're soft. They also
they
can't tackle.
Miss me with that. But I'll tell you what, the Panthers did surprise me because I thought that they were going to be shaky. They started off in the first half okay, and and they really stepped it up in the second half. I mean, when you finish a game only 3 points away from a team that was just in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Rams team. This Rams team that we're going to see this week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the Panthers are a very formidable team, and it's going to be interesting. But the Falcons really, if you're a Falcons fan, I'd be worried.
Who's the biggest threat for the Saints outside of the NFC South? Like in the NFC, is it this Rams team that we're seeing this week?
I know one that I think you're going to pick.
Yeah, they looked awful good last week, man.
Yeah, and I would lean towards them, but I'm actually going to pick another team in that division with the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Eagles are a really good team, and they stepped it up in the second half again. Another team that's
flying Eagles.
I see
that's what I'm doing. Shout out Team Sands, baby. Fly Eagles, fly.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz is a real deal. The Eagles could definitely be a troublesome team. I think that division in general, the two teams that are going to come out of there are going to be really strong.
I hate to say it because no one hates the Cowboys like I hate the Cowboys, but man, they look good with Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott and Amari Cooper and a young defense. If Jason Garrett can possibly find his wits and get it right, I just think that team is coming like a freight train, man. Who wants to play Dallas? Put it that way.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dallas is going to be really strong. Team that I definitely wouldn't want to face in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you know who's going to be number one in the NFC? Right here. Who dat? Saints on tap. Stay with us. We're wrapping it up. What we got next?
We got last call.
Last call.
We're turning on the lights in here.
We better get another turn on the lights, man. Don't you know how it works? The lights actually go on. And you're like, isn't the worst feeling in the world too? Like when they turn the lights on.
You just get this bright and you see everybody.
It's
and you're
brutal.
Like, no.
You see the girl you've been talking to for the last hour. You're like, go! Stay tuned. Saints on tap.
All right, we're about to turn the lights up on us. Lights on us?
Yeah, it's time to shut us down, man.
Yeah, we got a little bit of beer left to finish. Last call. I'm going to start with you. What's your last call?
Well, I'm just excited about this show, man. I really am. I joke, this is the show I was meant and born to do, to talk about the Saints and drink beer while we're doing it. But seriously, you're experiencing this, I think, a little bit. There's no, I think, fan base that lives and dies and breathes, and there's more synergy anywhere in the NFL than between the Saints and their fans. A 56.5 last week on ratings in the NFL. It is by far the highest in the NFL markets. And we talked about that stat earlier from my guy Rod Walker. Saints fans drink more. This is a study from alcohol.org, okay? This is not like we made reputable. This up for the purpose. It's .org, dude. Of course it's reputable. All I gotta do is stick a .org at the end of it. So I said no offense, but and so I just this show I think just fits so well in terms of our vibe, what we like to do, talk Saints and drink beer. But I think for the fans as well, I really think all Saints fans are really gonna enjoy this show, and I enjoy this show. I'm fired up about it. I'm 2 pitchers deep now, obviously, but I just as a parting shot, it's a great time to be a Saints fan. It has been so for a while. And it's all about fun and celebrating, and that's what we're doing with the show. So get a pitcher and drink with your boys every week.
Yeah, you talk about the show. I'm going to say the whole year right now for the Saints, and I'll tell you why. You talk about a lot of rookies coming in, and it takes them 1, 2, 3 years to kind of get acclimated to the NFL and really get to that high point in their careers. We're at that point with all of these great drafts that the Saints have had. And I think that, if you got to be excited for a year, I know we've fallen short a little bit the last 2. This is the freaking year. It is our time.
And that's been
our time.
But that's my problem. That's what I've been saying all year. It's am I gonna have to go through this again?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna put myself through all this again to see them be so good for a 3rd straight year.
No, this is gonna be the best.
3 straight years. This is a 3rd straight year. You say this is the team.
Yeah.
This is the group that they've been building around Drew Brees since 2009, and I really thought last year's team was the best Saints team I've ever seen in my entire lifetime, and they fell short. So it is this year, but it was also last year, and that's the NFL. We're here for one more ride, man. Pitchers of beer as we go.
Well, let's finish them off before our producers turn the lights on us.
Exactly. Saints on tap.
We hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys got a couple of drinks in with us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Enjoy the game. Who dat?
Saints on tap.
Down with the Dirty Birds.